the fact we're trying to establish now is that we are trying to do a management system auditing, which is not the same way other auditing processes goes. So we have to establish that whichever system we are auditing, we have access to the processes that lead to that system. So one of the fundamentals of this kind of audit is to have in mind that we want the auditee to improve. By that, we're going to communicate to them which area we want to audit. This is where the audit plan comes in. A value-adding audit cannot proceed unless the audit plans are properly communicated to the auditees far ahead of time. A minimum of days or weeks will have made them to prepare. There are two advantages of this. First is it makes the auditee to prepare whatever they can. The process they might have been forgotten, they have to stand up and quickly do some finishing touches to it. Sometimes auditors will think, why would they know where I'm going to audit? And that is not our way. What we want is improvement. So whether we tell them beforehand, or we tell them there, it works better to communicate what we want to audit to auditees, so they quickly try to fix one or two things before we comes around. Nevertheless, we're still going to find a lot of things with it, because there is no way somebody can fix a process in a week that will be as good as what he's been doing for months or years. So if we succeeded in communicating the audit plan ahead, then we will arrive the audit site following the audit plan. So one of the basics area, I'm talking about the fundamentals again, includes believing that the auditees are doing well. Not to first judge them by saying, this place is bad and these people, I'm going to catch them, I will raise a lot of non-conformities and the rest of that. Really doesn't work. That is not our purpose. The difference between a financial auditor and a management system auditors, one of them is that financial auditors will catch somebody that is cheating, while management system auditors will identify gaps to make people to cheat. So we are there solving the root causes, not just solving the effects of the problem. So I hope I'm making myself a bit clear on those fundamentals.
Very well, sir.
So something very clearly, very important is that auditors must come with a very clear mind, not with any biased mind. Even if you had an information before arriving the audit site, there is one manager there that will hide. This man knows. Please, just assume you didn't hear anything and you perceive that the guy is doing better, until you find something very critical, completely against the requirement of the standard, or someone that doesn't know at all and not ready to learn. Then that is when we identify problems. Whatever challenges we found, we still believe they are on the course of improvement, because nobody will even allow audit in the first place if they are not interested to improve. Even having it said that is because of certification. That certification is not sought out by every organization. So if an organization sorts ISO certification for whatever reasons, business or whatever, it's for the sake of improvement. It means they are not going to be the same. Even if they are not ready to improve, you are still going to add one or two value. They're going to learn something new. So I believe that these fundamentals are very critical to management system auditing. Either it is quality, environment, information security, social accountability, occupational health and safety, food safety, and the rest of whatever standard we're going to audit. We still have to have a very clear mind notifying the auditors. I'm sorry, I had this a very, how will I call it, a sour experience of this in Nigeria while we would need to audit some health facilities. And the head of the organization said, no, don't tell them that we are coming. We just have to jump on them. I say, sorry, this is not auditing. So what I'm trying to say is we need to inform the auditees ahead of time, give them ample time to prepare so that we will meet them on the course of improvement. Now, one of the basic areas which I would like us to remember in terms of the fundamentals is that it helps in management system auditing to identify opportunities for improvement than to have so many numbers of non-compliances or non-conformities. I didn't know if it ever happened in any organization that auditors are being paid for the number of non-conformities raised. And if at all this happened, that is really defeating the purpose of management system auditing. So it serves the purpose of improvement better to raise a lot of opportunities for improvement than to raise a lot of non-compliance or non-conformities. So auditors are not inspectors and auditors are not policemen. These are areas that I want us to please take a very important note of. Now, when we go to the process-based auditing, every auditor, having gone through lead auditor course and with whatever number of years of experience, knew that there is no way you can audit any organization that doesn't have its processes. So those processes are the combination of how the inputs are handled, what are the controls available, and what are the outputs expected. Anything. I think that is the layman definition of process. The inputs, which are the requirements, which are the requests, which are the what the organization wanted or what is required of the organization, and then controls, which is the way to handle it. What do we do to turn? Nam, hello?
Sorry.
Doc, please go ahead. Waliu, please
Okay.
mute that person.
So I believe that we're talking about processes, and this inputs into every system is very, very crucial and important, because without inputs, without requirements, then there is no process. Hello?
Please go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. We are with you.
Okay. When we're talking about the process-based auditing, so an auditor should definitely know which process he is going to audit and get himself acquainted with who are involved in those processes and how this process are handled. What are the controls? And what are the expectations? What are the expected results? So there is no perfection in the whole world. The techniques has to be that you knew that there is no perfection. And all what you want to establish is that these people understood the baseline. And that is where the basis for improvement. That is exactly where you can improve them on. So starting with the process-based auditing, it means you can easily identify what are the inputs to the process you are auditing. For example, we want to look into procurement process. Though we will be getting a detailed explanation about each of those areas and auditing techniques specifically for some specified areas. But I'm just taking that as a test. I mean, as as a template to look into the process-based auditing. For example, we want to audit procurement. So the material requisition or end users request will form the basis for procurement processes. Despite that, those procurement processes will start with suppliers evaluation and suppliers approval and stuff like that, and registration. And then we try to understand what are the processes, how do we control it until it gets to delivery. So there is no way a management system auditor can do justice to a process if he doesn't identify.
Go ahead, sir. Doctor, are you there?
Someone
Go ahead.
has to do. Yes, I'm here. I hope
Please go ahead.
I'm on, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'm trying to establish here is that every auditor is expected to establish what are the inputs to the process he or she is auditing. If we are able to get the input right, then you look at the details of the inputs, the communication of the inputs, the expectation or those requirements that the input has to satisfy. Does it include all the clarification? Is it documented? Is it following the template? Is it following the procedure? Is it getting the necessary approval? That is the starting point before we even ask for the control. So the baseline we're trying to say, explain here is our auditing techniques and principles are based on process. And in any way that process senses is out of it, we'll be missing the target. So there is no way anybody can add any value to any process audited without identifying what are the inputs to this process. How should these inputs be done? Should it be documented? Who is going to approve it? Who is supposed to review it? How is it going to be communicated? Is it following a template? And all the stuff like that. So the whole series of requirements based on the inputs. Then the next will be the control, which are the resources, the time, and the way to do it. So using the resources, availability of resources, adequacy of resources, and all other things that has to do with the resource management will come into place when you're talking about the control mechanism. So the control itself has to be evaluated. Not only in quality, I'm saying this is applicable to all management system standards. For management system auditors, we look into those three major areas. We look into the inputs, we look into the control, and then we look into the output. So before even looking at the input, sometimes there are auditors that can start from the backland to the front, which means this process is supposed to produce what result? Are we really achieving those results? No. If no, what went wrong? Then you audit it backward, looking at the controls, looking at the inputs. So the major area I'm trying to explain, which I would love my learned colleagues and professionals on this webinar to please consider very importantly, is the process-based auditing. We cannot by any chance be overlooked the process-based auditing by virtue of practical aspect that we solve. For example, somebody made us annoyed, doesn't welcome the auditors very well, and some flimsy issues. Yeah, these people look hostile. I'm going to show them and all the rest of them. These are not what is expected of management system auditors. We're supposed to be the friend, but in a different way who is looking for improvement. There were some elder statements that used to say, don't ask about yourself from your friend, ask about yourself from your enemy. So if you ask about yourself from your friend, he's likely to tell you are very good, you are doing the best. But if you ask about yourself, how am I doing in front of your enemy, say you will tell you so many things. So we have to be the friend in a different guise. We have to be the one to identify opportunities and how things can get better. So we cannot overemphasize the process-based auditing, which means if at any reason we miss that point of identifying the input, the controls, and output of any process given, being it health and safety, being it food safety, being it anything, it must go through this process-based auditing. Then comes the third aspect of which is the intent. The intent of auditing. This part has to do with whichever standard we are auditing. The intent of the management need to be well understood. It doesn't serve any purpose raising a lot of reports, 10 pages, 15 pages reports, which at the end of the day, nobody will use. The intent of audit is very, very important. So the auditor must be able to grasp the intent of the audit, being it certification audit, being it surveillance audit, being it first stage 1 or stage 2, being it even internal audit. That is why when you audit internal audit, we will ask what are the audit objectives. It is not possible within internal audit to ensure that all processes of the organization are combed. No, that's not the way. We will do justice to all but we will focus on the critical areas that helps the organization, where the problem lies. That is what makes our audit more beneficial to the management. If the organization is having problems with storage, with preservation of products, or which has to do with maintenance, some organizations are having problem with the organizational setup. For example, there is no responsibility and authority matrix, no job description and things like that. Then we are focusing more on the operations and said, no, the process is not done, they didn't do this well. No, we should try to get the intent correct, so it becomes more relevant and will be adding value to the organization, rather than just squeezing them and focusing on issues that may not be of better benefit to the organization. Now, because of time, I would like to touch base on some of the techniques in management system auditing. For example, when we talk about, that is exactly I think that's the point we want to stop on, and we will have to learn more by having more professionals on this webinar to give us ideas and discuss more on different techniques that has to do with the management system auditing. So today, one of the, hello? Hello?
Dr. Bash, please go ahead. Somebody
Hello?
was there.
Please go ahead, we can hear you.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Go ahead. We can hear you, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Talking about techniques, the very first one I want us to take note of has to do with the approach of auditor to auditees. There is human being in general, the psychology of human being were made to be protective. And everybody would like to cover his house, saying that, oh, this is my area, so I can guard properly. I believe one of the best way we used to advise and discuss and explain more during the lead auditor courses has to do with the approach to auditing. When an auditor comes in aggressively, getting ready to find a lot of things, then people become more protective. And everybody will have to say, I don't know, I don't have, it's not with me. Please ask other person, which is an evidence of the approach of auditors. So we will expect a management system auditors, trained and value-adding auditors, to open up their chest, making sure that people receive them well and they also approach others, the auditees, well. Not that, yes, I have the opportunity to nail you guys today. Yes, it's my time. No, we should be so friendly. We should be on the same part of let's say even we're in the meeting room. We shouldn't sit opposite to each other like we are different teams.
Others they come sef, but maybe we take this one, take start.
Hello, sir. Are we on?
Yes, we are on, Doc. Go ahead.
Okay. So the point I'm trying to make was the approach to audit. The approach to auditing, it has to do with the friendliness, the gentleness, the objectivity of auditing. And this has to reflect with the auditees that they should be at ease. We should approach them that gently and friendly. And one of the best ways is to come up and say, yes, I am here today. I'm part of you. I'm not against you. I am here to help you in developing your system and assisting you in areas, even in certain audit that you are not supposed to advise or even correct them. It is not bad. It is not a sin. We can't outrightly say it is wrong for you to see something right and not appreciate it, or to see something wrong and then say, no, there are better ways. There are ways to say you are wrong in different ways. We can say, what if we do it in this way? And the other person will be happy to listen and reason along with us and say, no, this is not the way to do it. No, you should do it in this way. Then that means we are telling the other guy that he doesn't know what he's doing or stuff like that, which not many people do appreciate. So it is one of the auditing techniques to be acceptable. That means it should be friendly, it should be gentle, it should be objective and opened, meaning I am here. I am not in any way against you. I just want to add value to what you are doing. You are doing well. Even without looking at it, you say you are doing well. You are doing excellently good. But we can just try and see what more values we can add. And that makes the auditor more acceptable. And then one needs to look into the thoroughness of the audit trail. Mr. Wali, please let me know if it's 5 minutes before my time is up. Hello?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So among these auditing techniques is following the audit trail. As we all know that our auditing in management system doesn't allow us to go through all the processes. There is no way. There is no time for it. We are being sandwiched between so many processes and the time against us, and so many people even, and what people thought of us. So we should try as much as possible to look into the audit trail. The audit trail has to do with when you start auditing a process and you found out that you didn't get enough information from the auditee, then it is better to follow it deep down. Like, okay, the items delivery wasn't counted properly from the procurement. Then you can verify that from the store or in the store section, or you can follow up with the GM or the MD or I mean the officers on those areas. Then after that, looking at some other items procured. Don't let us make our judgment on one of the areas that we found. We should substantiate it with a lot of other collaborative evidence. I mean, when you want to be sure that something is wrong with procurement, not just with one item that was procured or wrongly or hasn't followed the process, we should follow the trail. That means we should go deep down, gently, not aggressively. Going deep down means that you accept what the auditee says, but you try to verify that same question somewhere else, which is a bit relevant to it. And you can collaborate those information or evidence. And it is also one of our best practices to ask for evidence. It's not just enough to say, how is it doing? It is very important to ask for evidence. And evidence-based audits is one of our ways to establish facts. So I believe there are several other techniques. Just being able to explain, one of it is the objectivity, and the other one has to do with the hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Though we didn't you went off earlier, but we can hear you now.
I was just looking at the. Okay, I believe what I'm trying to re-emphasize are those areas of techniques which I have just mentioned. One of it is the presentation, our presentation, our appearance, our discussion at the opening with the auditees, to making them at ease and believing that we are on the same side. So that is the first one. The second has to do with the audit trails, what we found, and establishing objective evidence. So these are very critical to management system auditors. And lastly, we would like to ensure that we don't just ask questions, but we look for evidence. We look for documentation. As it's our slogan, usually, to say that show me and don't say it. So just show me. So if you are able to get hold of information or evidence that substantiate what the auditees are telling us, then we have no reason to disbelieve them, to say no, except if those evidence are not good enough or is not working enough. So I would like to pause a little bit here to see if there are questions, or before if we need to add anything more, just because of time. Hello?
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Please confirm that you can hear me loud and clear.
Very well, I'm hearing you, and I hope
We
you
can
heard
hear
me
you,
too.
sir.
All right, thank you so much for that presentation, for that enlightenment section. We sincerely appreciate you for giving us your time to spread from your wealth of knowledge and experience on the subject matter. And I'm very sure that this is just the beginning. When we have opportunities again, we will surely invite you for you to continue to give us snippets from your wealth of knowledge. So the second part of this section, which is a very important part, is the part of questions and answers. We would like you to please signify by raising up your hand by raising up your hand in the chat room for your questions. If you have any questions, please kindly raise your hand so we can take the question and answer session. All right, we have 2 persons. All right, let us start with Mr. Ibrahim. Please let us make our questions clear, simple, and straightforward. So, Mr. Ibrahim, please kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Mr. Ibrahim, please, you have the floor, please. So if Mr. Is it finding it difficult to unmute?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Can you hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for the enlightenment. We really appreciate, Doctor. Thank you. I have 1, 2, or 3 questions. The first one is you talk about communicating the work plan to the auditee. So my question is, what is, according to the standard, what do you think is the limit, the time limit for the work plan to be communicated to the auditee? That is the first question. Second question is closing out the non-conformities. How long will it take for the auditee to close out the non-conformity? That's my second question. The third question, is it proper for a non-technical auditor to audit a technical auditee? Is it okay? According to the standard, is it okay? That's my question. Thank you.
Hello, Doc.
Hello,
Doctor.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for those brilliant questions. I'm really impressed with these 3 questions. It's going to open up a lot of things. And I will try my best not to take much of your time within these 3 questions. The first one, if I understood you properly, it has to do what's the limit of audit plan communication to the auditees? Are you talking about the time frame? If you're talking about time frame, you have between 2 weeks and few days, depending on the means of communication or the complexity of the processes. Why I say 2 weeks, I'm talking about a normal auditing. If it has to do with certification audit, it could be jointly or mutually decided. And when those dates are decided, it doesn't mean that from the date it is decided, the auditor has to send the audit plan straight to the auditee. It's expected that before the audit date, best practice will expect a minimum of 2 weeks to a week. It's not really good enough to say to be done in days, because the objective of communicating the audit plan is to prepare the auditee, to give him some ample chance to fix in some stuff towards the goodness of his standard, which he wouldn't have done on the normal ground or on normal days. So I hope not to take much of your time. Reasonably, 2 weeks is fine. Not very good enough is a week, but not bad. But I don't think it is good if it is more extended than that, because it shows that a lot of things can. It's better not to be more than 2 weeks. That's my honest opinion. Being in certification business, I was in Bureau Veritas in Qatar. I was based in Doha. So Bureau Veritas Qatar made it a standard then that it's only 2 weeks standard to communicate the audit plan to the auditees. But sometimes, operationally, we can get delayed because of weekend and stuff like that. It might not even complete 2 weeks, but there is no way we do it in less than a week. So within a week and 2 is fine. 3 weeks, it's really more extended, which I don't know. If we do agree from organization to organization, that may not be bad. DG, Mr. Cletus.
Yes, sir, I'm hearing you.
Hello, Mr. Cletus. Do you have something to add with regards to the time frame?
No, well, for internal audit, I believe the organization.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, sir. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear Mr. Cletus.
Okay,
Mr.
so
Cletus, go ahead.
yeah, I'm saying that for internal audit, I believe the organization should document that in their internal audit process.
Procedure.
Yes, where you say it should be 1 week, it should be a minimum of this period. So it is not going to be wise for us to just tell you it's 2 days, it's 3 weeks, it's 4 weeks. But I think for internal audit, the organization should determine what is the minimum number of weeks or days to communicate the audit plan with the auditee. In the same vein, like you rightly said, in the case of BV, you communicate, the certification body should also state it in their own process that the lead auditor should communicate with the auditee minimum 2 weeks, minimum 3 weeks, depending on what they have determined as the best possible for their system. So I can't say, I don't think it would be wise to just say it is these days. But what I'm saying is here is that every organization should be able to document in their audit procedure.
Is best. Okay. I think
Yes, go
I
ahead.
think we are fine.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
So if my brother, my colleagues will like us to say a fixed time, I think that will be inappropriate. But we can say what others does or whatever we found it easier. The standard has not in any way, even 19,011 has not in any way determined the specific date or time to do it. But reasonably, different organizations will need to document what time frame, because at the end of the day, if it is communicated in 2 days and people are not aware, it's going to affect the
audit,
the success of the audit.
Yes.
So let's go to the second question, if you don't mind. You asked about the closeout time for NCR. How long can an NCR stay open, and what time should it be closed? I think it depends on the type of the non-conformities. There are some non-conformities that are very generic, that needs a lot of time for closure. But no matter what, this time frame has to be stipulated in the corrective action request. In closing out any non-conformity, the auditor that raised the non-conformity or the lead auditor will have to specify the expected time frame to close the non-conformity. But no matter how long it takes, it shouldn't take up till the next audit. I hope I'm making myself clear. In planning for surveillance audits, one of the major areas is looking at existing non-compliance or open non-compliance, which automatically becomes a very big issue if it is not closed. So audit is an expensive process. It is not possible to be doing it every now and then, and you come back and auditors will have to come back for reevaluation of non-compliance. Verification of closing of non-conformity could be done easily at the next surveillance audit or next internal audit. So, but depending on the organizational plan as set out in their internal audit procedure, closure of non-conformities has to be clearly defined or determined by the lead auditor who raises the non-compliance.
Can I please add, Doc?
Sometimes the auditees will need to ask for more time. And
Doc,
this is yes, sir.
can I please
Yes,
add
bro.
something quickly?
Yes, please
Also,
do.
I think you also need to look at the risk in question in that non-conformity. What if it is something that can have a serious effect on the organization and their output? You don't need to make it that long till it is the next audit or surveillance audit. So based on the severity, the auditor should know, using your own experience and based on the risk that you have seen from that non-conformity. It could be something that if it's not taken care of, could shut down the whole organization. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
So like I was saying, if the risk associated with that non-conformity is something that can be a hindrance to the output of the process, is something I think you the auditor needs to put your feet on the ground and say this should be closed out by this period, based on what the audit. For example, if it is internal audit, there should be a different approach to it. If it is external audit, the same thing. So you won't approach the two of them with the same severity. One is your internal process. You know to what extent that non-conformity can hinder the progress of your system. If it is something that has capacity to be able to affect your customer output, your processes, you need to ensure that it is closed out at the right time. Don't give them forever to close it out. Just to add to it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Please,
thank you very
let's go
much.
To the next question. Let's go to the next question.
No. There is a third question here, which
has
to do with a non-technical auditor auditing a technical process. I hope the questionnaire is. Am I getting the question right?
Yes, yeah,
exactly, sir.
Thank you. Now, an example of what you're asking is an auditor with medical background auditing civil engineering process.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So far, there is a procedure in place. We will require that auditor will need a technical expert who might not necessarily be an auditor. For clarification, the auditor will still be able to audit, but there are certain areas that he couldn't get to. And he definitely will need a technical expert to clarify. At the end of the day, the auditor still knows what he's doing because he's auditing the process. He might not be able to talk about the tensile strength, the building codes, the blah, 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 but he should definitely be able to identify what are the inputs, what are the controls, what are the outputs, and are this thing meeting the standard requirement. So if we are talking about certification audit, there used to be something we call the PQC code and PEC codes. So auditors will have to justify, by virtue of certificates, training, and experience, a professional area of which he will be allowed to do the audit. So, not minding the background, if you are able to demonstrate that you have you have witnessed and you have got through some training with regards to a specific process, and you are able to demonstrate understanding of those process, you could be allocated those codes to do it. But if not, it is not doing the auditee any benefit if you don't understand the technical languages. It's like for an engineer to come and audit the veterinary processes. By the time we're telling you the anatomy and stuff and other things, it will definitely not the auditor will just be looking and say, okay, yes, and that is not auditing. So if I will put it in a nutshell, the organizing or the planning officers or authority who are planning for the audit need to consider the capability of the auditors in terms of technical requirements. If the auditor is not meeting those, then there is need to have a technical advisor or a technical personnel who is going to add value. And that person is not going to participate in audit. He will just sit and observe, and the auditor will ask, yes, is this building codes correct? Yes. What is the structure is supposed to be? 25. And then the auditor will continue. But he needs a technical support from a qualified technical expert. That's my my opinion and my answer on that. I don't know if Mr. Cletus will need to have anything to add.
Carry on, sir. So let's have
Thank you very much.
Let's have
another
Sylvester.
question.
Let's have Engineer Sylvester Aziyegbeni. Aziegbe.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor, for your presentation. It is something made by an expert, and I really gain a lot from you. There is this saying that this auditing is not a legal requirement. And if it is not a statutory requirement, it means it's not a mandatory requirement. Then if it is not a mandatory requirement, why do we still have this auditing to, organizations going ahead to have it? And some organizations don't even go about having this, auditing. So I want that to be clarified, why it is not mandatory or legal requirement, which makes some organizations not to even be interested in this kind of audit. Thank you very much.
I really appreciate that, brother. These are one of the most beautiful questions I'm expecting in this kind of platform. Thank you very much. Well, if I got you right, you were like saying, is this auditing a legal requirement to start with? Absolutely.
Yeah, correct. Yes.
Absolutely. In Nigeria, for some business, yes, it's a legal requirement. But for some business, it hasn't been a legal requirement yet. Why I said yes for some business, there are certain regulations now in Nigeria mandating businesses that has to do with oil and gas and like local content and stuff like that, mandating them to be ISO certified, of which they cannot be ISO certified until they are audited. So if they want to be in business, definitely they have to go through that process and get audited. So that becomes legal requirements. For certain businesses, which is still not a legal requirement, it is to us one of the areas we are missing in this country, because it's like we are at the back of the world. In other climes, people are not even talking about ISO certification again. People have moved past that. They move past Six Sigma. They move past process reengineering. They move past, compliance. They are on improvement level. But these are things the professionals have to work more on. It is not enough that we have 10, 15 certified auditors. We should have more. We should train more. We should encourage more people. Now, I knew there has been an act promulgated by Nigerian government over some 10, 11 years ago, mandating quality assurance department or section in all ministries. But who do you see managing those quality assurance? They don't understand what is quality. Because what they understood to be quality is controlling money. I'll tell you an industry which I'm very much familiar with in Nigeria is more of the health industry. The Hospital Management Board, the Ministry of Health, mention it, even including the National Health Insurance Scheme and the rest of them. Whoever is the director of quality there, ask them the basic, what is quality? For goodness sake, they would not be able to answer because they are medics and they were just there to control costs. So what I'm trying to say is this institute is trying its best to raise the awareness and let people know that it is not about controlling the cost that makes something quality. It's about getting it right, doing it right. It's about people that understood international requirement. The standards are there. It is not a hidden fact that we are backward. Why our products are not meeting up in international markets? Why is our product being rejected up and down? Why are people not having trust in our product? Why do you want made in China, made in England, and made in Japan if it's not that they are working up to a standard? Why does our people that has the money rush over there for treatment? So many things are there. I believe it is not mandated by certain areas, but it is mandatory on certain areas. We only need to work and raise more awareness until people knows that it's a part of life to do things right. So I don't know if Mr. Cletus would like to add one or two things.
Hello, Doc. Mr.
Yes,
Sylvester,
bro.
Engineer Sylvester. Doctor has actually spoken very well. In Nigeria, like I'm sure you are aware. For those of us who are not yet aware, it is now mandatory that for you to do business in the oil and gas industry, you need to be ISO certified. Why? Because being at least ISO 9001 certified ensures that your organization's management system is at par with anyone in the world, that your company is operating the best of systems. Like Dr. rightly said, you check. I think there was one webinar we had, somebody asked this question and said, if you go to some other part of the world, you will hear companies of 100 and something years, they are still in existence. The difference between that company and the ones we have here who died after 20 years is because those ones have systems in place that they have adopted and they are using to run their business. But here, we are not. But I can tell you that the Institute is doing her best to work with regulators and government agencies to see how we can ensure that these things are now become a part of regulations, such that, for ISO, it is not mandatory. It is not compulsory and it's not mandatory. It's voluntary. But the only way it can become mandatory is when governments, regulators, like local content now has done. If Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Works and Housing does the same, you will see Federal Ministry of Labor says so, this one says that, you will see that it will now become mandatory. So for all of us here, let's do our best to see how we can see that our government begin to adopt these things and make it a regulatory requirement. Well, I can tell you for free that the Institute will not rest on her oars to see that we work together to ensure that this is going to be something that every part of the country should be aware of. Let me inform you that by the grace of God, Doctor knows that the two of us are already working on it. We've gone to have meeting with the National Productivity Center. In a short while, you will start seeing programs that we are putting together in partnership to ensure that this becomes a part of doing business in Nigeria. Just to also let you know, in a few days' time, within the next few days, we will be in local content board in Bayelsa to have a meeting on how we can work together to ensure that this becomes something that everybody is aware of and doing very well. First, we are so impressed with what they are doing, and we'd like to take their model and also share with other regulators to ensure that this becomes, a way of life. So in summary, for now, just a few organizations like NIPES. If you are getting your NIPES qualification now, is a requirement there. You will see there they will ask you, do you have ISO 9001, 14001, and 45001? You know, so I believe that as we all put our hands on the deck and begin to do what we need to do, it will begin to trickle into the other organizations, and it will begin to become a mandatory requirement like it is in the oil and gas
Thank you
industry
very
now.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Honorable
Doctor, there are many other questions
Yes, sir.
on the platform.
Okay.
Have you seen
So
them?
let's make it. I think you'll be the one to, and I mean, allow
Okay,
the
let me
questions.
read out the questions. If
Okay.
Waliu has not pulled them out yet, but I've been able to pull some out.
Okay.
Yes, I would love to respond to what somebody said earlier while you were presenting. Mr. Williams Asim added while you were presenting that audit criteria, audit scope, and audit plan has to be defined and communicated ahead of time for a good management system audit. Definitely, that's the truth. The audit manager is to determine the criteria and determine the scope of the audit. Then the auditor, the lead auditor, is to put together the audit plan.
Yes.
So for internal audit, for example, if the audit manager is your QHSE manager or your quality management system manager, he should be able to communicate the audit criteria to you, the auditor that is going to be carrying out that audit. If, for example, you are appointed as the lead auditor for that audit, the criteria should be communicated to you. What is the criteria for this audit? What is the scope of this audit I'm going to carry out? The scope should not be determined by you, the auditor. It should be determined by the audit manager. So for certification audit, the certification body audit manager should be the one to do that and communicate same to you, which you will now communicate to the audit client and ensure that the auditee understands this and it is exactly what they want. So for the audit plan, I believe that every organization and certification body should have a template for an audit plan.
This plan.
Yes, for every client that I prepare for certification, I ensure I develop for them an audit plan, which is a part of their
internal audit procedure.
Yes, it's one of the records that is part of that system. So you need to, you the auditor, we have to put together the plan based on the audit scope and the audit criteria. So you have spoken very, very well. What you have said is very correct. This must be prepared before you communicate with the auditee. So this precedes the communication with the auditee. So, Doctor, these are the questions, and it's looking like some persons are dropping some more questions. Let me take this first one. These ones that have come first. Somebody said, what does it mean when a requirement is implied and explicit?
What does it mean if the requirement is
implied,
explicit,
and explicit?
Okay. Depending on the management system standard. For example, when an explicit requirement in quality management 9001, it means it's one of the mandatory. There is no way that organization can exclude it. And it is very important that we try and establish what we mean by explicit in that context. So it has to do with some of the subclauses of the standard, which is a bit fixed. So when that requirement, for example, you want to talk about the traceability. Traceability can be very explicit in preservation of products. Are you getting me?
Yes,
hello,
sir.
Are we on?
We are on.
Okay.
Go ahead, we're hearing you.
Okay. An explicit requirement in any organization, it has to do with the core value of what they are doing. the real product or the real customer requirements. So there is no way an organization can say, we're only doing our part, we're only doing part of this from these customer requirements. Even if it is outsourced, you still need to evaluate the level of controls exercised over the supplier or the outsource organization. So there is no way you can escape such explicit or implied requirements of the standard, depending on the scope or even the context of the organization itself, the covering the interested parties and internal and external parties. So it's something you cannot exclude, or something you cannot run away from. So that's my understanding of an explicit requirement of the standard. In cases of 9,000 or 14 or 45, it has to be specific to the context of the organization. Hello?
Doc?
Yes, bro.
Yes, thank you very much. According to the standard, there are, like the person rightly asked, there are explicit and there are implied. Explicit are those areas where the standard requires that you must do that thing. Then the other part is where it is optional based on your process. Where it is a requirement that it must be done, is something that you have to do. It is explicit that you must do that.
Yeah.
You know, so don't worry, we will share something relating to that on a later date, as where you will see things like shall, may, yes.
Sorry, sir.
Yes,
I wanted to add to that also. So, another, in addition to what my guys have also said, when we hear something is explicit, it means that that particular requirement is clear. Like, it is not something that you need to be running around for. For example, when they say that so and so must be available as a documented information, it is clear. But when they say implied, it means that it is open for interpretation, depending on the context of your own organization and what you understand in your process. So I just wanted to add that to it.
Thank you very much. You have nailed it. So let's take the next question. It said, what is the difference between the management system audit and a process management audit?
All right. Management system audits and process management audits. Is that what the questionnaire is asking?
Management system audit and process management audit.
Thank you. Management system audit has to do with a specific management system standard, and it is based on the process approach. It's based on the organizational performance, what the organization does, how is it documented, how is it implemented, how is it monitored, how is it ensured. The whole management system has to do with those clauses, auditable. So I think we're talking in the context of an auditor now. So if an auditor is auditing a system or a process system, I hope you're getting it. It's like you are trying to audit a production process. This is how this process works. You use this much chemicals, you use this much materials, you use this much this, you use this much this. This can be based on different process manuals. Hello?
Please go ahead, sir.
Who is that?
I'll push out the person. I don't know who that person is now.
Please, Waliu, check for the person and mute the person, please.
I'm trying to look for the person. I don't even know who the person is.
Go ahead.
So the point we're making is, when you say management system, it means the combination of interrelated processes complying with the management system standard.
Thank you.
Which an auditor wants to do following the standard. But process management has to do with a specific process, which may not necessarily be attributed to the ISO standard. but it has to be linked to a documented process, meaning like a manufacturer's manual. For example, when you're talking about some testing requirements, you want to do something like impact test, heat reversion test, some elongation test in a plastic factory, for example. That doesn't necessarily come under the ISO except on the product realization. So that process can be singled out as process management audit, which has to follow. Did you set the presetted machine at the manufacturer's level? Did you look into the materials? Did you feed into the timing? The temperature gauge is fine. All these temperature gauges and stuffs are not stipulated by ISO standard. All what we want is we want you to explain in documented version what the process is, what are the inputs, what are the controls, and what are the outputs. But when you are looking at a single process wholeheartedly, process management, it has to do with, is the process following the right way as stipulated by manufacturers of machines or equipment, and that itself will have to do with different documents. So that's my understanding of that.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much. Just to add a little to that, in auditing, we have different, let me say for internal audit, for example, you have different types of internal audit. Let me, like, if you go to our the institute's training materials for determining the scope of an audit, you will see where we documented there that for the audit scope to be determined, you need to have in mind what type of audit you want to carry out. What type of, is it audit of the entire organization at once? Is it audit by department or area? Is it audit by specific product or audit by process? You can choose to audit, for example, accident investigation process. You can choose to audit the production process. So, like Doctor has rightly said, management system audit is based on a criteria set by the management system. Why the process audit is how the process is being managed. In the system audit, you can actually choose to still do a process audit based on this requirement of the system. But note that one can be inside of the other.
Oh,
the
God.
process audit can be found inside the management system audit, but the management system audit is not inside the process audit. The management system audit is
our
based
next
on a
webinar
system.
will be far better than
For
this.
want of time,
This
hello?
is the first one.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
Mr. Clinton, so I don't know who this person is. I don't know who this person is that is just making this noise.
Can you just
Shedrack.
look into the
Okay,
list?
Mr. Shedrack. Waliu, is Mr. Shedrack, that's the person. Can you please mute him? Just
I can't find him.
Shedrack AS. Shedrack AS. Is just on top of Abanum. Shedrack, can you please mute your mic? Waliu, please look for Shedrack. You can mute him.
I've taken him to the waiting room. He will wait there.
It's okay. So the next question we have is there difference between management audit and financial audit?
Please, before we continue on this aspect you just explained.
Yes.
You know, it has a link with the third question I asked earlier. You see, so by my deduction from your explanation, Doc, it seems process auditing should be done by an auditor who has the technical know-how.
Because
No.
to me, by my deduction, is purely professional.
Okay, I get your
Yeah.
point. Eh?
Sir Cletus,
Yes, sir.
sorry, can I add to that, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Now, sir, when it comes to audit, except maybe it's only, let's say, is the risk, because for you to determine the number of auditors, for example, for you to know how you want to do your audit, for example, maybe you want to have only one or two auditors. But when you're having more than one auditor or two auditors that makes up your audit team, you can have auditors who are going to carry out the auditing itself. And you can also have technical expert as part of the audit team. The audit team is not only made up of the auditor. The audit team is also made up of technical experts. So the auditor must not necessarily have high-level competence. Let's say in the power sector now, let's say, for example, you want to go and audit a power generation company. And I have someone like Dr. Julius, who's an expert in the field. And I'm the auditor. I can invite him along with me to go and carry out the audit together. So inside an organization, in a process, you can have, you might not, for example, now in an organization where you have maybe the quality department, the HSC department, someone who is an expert in quality, who is in that department, will not audit themselves for internal audit in order to
Not
avoid issue of issue of partiality, impartiality in audit. So it means that you can have someone who has the knowledge of that particular process and also have an auditor. Not necessarily that the person that is auditing must have the expertise completely.
Hello, let
Why
me quickly.
why I'm asking this
Wale,
question is,
thank you. Let me
Doc,
quickly clarify this, brother.
okay.
See, when you asked about can a non-technical auditor audit a technical process, I did explain that yes, a non-technical auditor can audit a technical process with the help of a technical expert, with the help of someone that has the knowledge of that technical area. The person having the knowledge of the technicalities doesn't necessarily become an auditor. And it still doesn't make an auditor incapable of auditing such process. So far, he has somebody to clarify his doubt with. That is according to the IAF regulation. So in IAF, it stipulates that if an auditor doesn't covers a code in PQC or PEC codes, he can bring in or hire a technical expert for clarification.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So I
Understood.
also want to look at it this way. Ibrahim,
Yes.
in your company,
Mm.
you may not have audit. Let's say you have like 5 auditors, and one of your process does not have somebody who knows that process very well amongst the people who are trained auditors. Does it mean you will not carry out the audit? You will. So, like they have said, make up your team with competent persons that can provide all the needed competence, which includes getting a technical expert. Thank you very much. I'm seeing some other questions coming in, but quickly let's look at the rest so that we can finish up for today. He said, like we have said, financial auditing and management system auditing are completely different.
Very, very.
Doctor was taking us on his presentation, he said something about it. Financial audit, like the name goes, is financial audit, checking where money was stolen, how money was not used very well, how money was misappropriated, how money was not approved before it was used, and the rest. But for management system audit, it is based on a management system, and it is for improvement purpose, not to send anybody to jail. For financial audit, somebody can go to jail. But for management system audit, it is to improve the process. It will even improve the process of stealing money.
Let me, my DG, let me quickly add something.
Ensure nobody steal again. Yes, go ahead, sir.
You see, financial auditing is only to catch thieves. But management system auditing is to create awareness and block loopholes where people can even think of stealing.
That's the truth.
We are looking at the holistic approach of the process. I will give you a very simple example. When you found people stealing at a point, it's because there is a management system lapses.
Yes, that's the truth. There's a failure somewhere.
There is a failure on the process. Somebody is supposed to check something, process supposed to go to A, B, C, D, and people are bypassing the channel, so people will have enough opportunity to steal. When you want to block the loophole without even doing financial auditing, you first review the process and then look at the control measures. You already identified the risks. There is no way you can bring money to the front of a needy person and he will not take from it. So the only way is to review how the process goes and make sure that loopholes are blocked, simply. So management system audits tends to identify where there could be control lapse and then providing corrective measures and ensuring it's implemented. While financial audit is only a reactive approach to catch something that is stolen, not even to catch something that will be stolen.
Thank you, sir, because of time. So another question here says, my own question is, what are the qualities process of preparing a technical report? Well,
quickly on that.
He said, what are the qualities? What are the qualities? The qualities process, it should be quality process of preparing a technical report.
Okay.
This is ambiguous.
No. It's not ambiguous somehow, because
technical report can be any form.
But let me get into this question. When you are talking about technical reports, is that technical report an output of an audit process? If it is, then you need to look into the relevance of the standard you are auditing against. If it's not, then you need to look at the scope of the audit and what are the areas given to you as hello?
Yes, you are correct.
So, technical report has to be based on the scope given, and your observation has to be presented in a way that will add value to the organization. So it depends on the level of the technicalities or what the auditors finds out. I'm aware that my Mr. Cletus has the understanding of this kind of audits in terms of it is not in any way relevant to the ISO standard. It is in a way to look into how things can be done better. So based on the scope, you will have to prepare your report on that. So technicalities is a very wide language of which you cannot say it is limited to this area only. But it has to be based on the scope and response. The report has to be specific for the purpose of the audit for improvement.
So, Doc, because of time, just to round up on that, every audit should be able to tell you what to report, how to report, what are the things that you must report. So, for example, your internal audit process should detail what your report should look like, even give you a template for reporting. So even a technical report should detail what they want you to report. There are ingredients that they want to see. What the purpose of the audit will specify. You should report this, you should report that, you should report that. So don't just go into an audit without knowing what your report should look like. Most times, the organization will always have their own templates of how to do the report. So where you don't have that, make sure you ask. If you are doing a technical audit report for any organization, ask for it. How do you want the report to be? If they give you the free hand, then you have to make your own design. But if you are doing an audit for any company, ensure you ask for their reporting format. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Daniel Esangbedo said, why can't we have a Nigerian certification body as is QMSAI is equivalent to IACA. That's exactly what QMSAI is. QMSAI is a certification body and also a professional membership body. QMSAI is already offering. You that even asked the question, you just became an ATP of the institute. QMSAI in this
Approved training partner.
in this Zoom class now, we have lots of our students who can tell you the value they've gotten from the training they've gotten from QMSAI with all sense of responsibility. If you take our course and take any other one, you will see the difference. Because the course was designed with those loopholes, those things that we saw missing. I'm sure if you hear Wali training sometimes, he will tell you that there's one particular area of our training material that is so interesting to him, how to audit clause by clause. For now, I don't know which certification body does that, but just check if you have done IACA before, which I have done. If you've done the rest, I'm sorry to call their names, but you will see that there's a difference between our training materials. We take time to include those key areas, how you can actually carry out an audit of these processes. It is not all, but at least we put enough for you to know how to audit each of these processes based on IAF requirements and IAF's directives on how to carry out these audits. So
I want to add to
QMSAI,
that. Can I add to that? Okay, want to say something?
Yes, please.
Dr.
So,
go ahead, please.
While we appreciate the gentleman that asked the question, I believe that Rome was not built in a day, and we are all responsible to create that greatness. We happen to be part of those that supported IACA. I couldn't remember since 2003, 2004, we got registered to our ARCA and we're paying to them and we are members and stuff like that. But nevertheless, this is something practicable. In this part of the world, we can do it and we have been doing it. And
we've been the one doing the ARCA training here now. We've been the one doing
the training. So why do we have to go and be
I've
paying
been
to
training
them?
for them for years.
And it's not about paying to them, it's about developing our local talents. It's about developing our own resources.
We've been
And
the
this
one
is
training.
Nigeria. We have the resources. How many years we've been tutors in different parts of the world? And when these training materials are approved by a registration body, those registration bodies are having the same status as QMSAI.
That's the truth.
So QMSAI is evaluated against IAF, and ARCA is evaluated against IAF. We are all members of that IAF. So we need to look inward and see how we customize things to our taste and how we can improve our resources and even home. It's not just enough to say that UK is UK because some people worked and did something
That's
there.
the truth. That's the truth.
And this is the opportunity for us to do it and make our own people. Please, I'm saying this with all emphatic. A lot of Nigerians are graduates who doesn't still know how to use their graduate certificates. We can incorporate them into different fields: quality, health and safety, environment, information security, social accountability.
Doctor, please, let's quickly round up. We have some more questions.
Okay, so let's put our hands together and get QMSAI.
Let's quickly take the other question so that we can go.
I think we have done enough.
Amo Temitope said, what determines grouping of NCROs into major or minor?
Oh my God.
We are going to take this another time. I'm not sure we will be able to take that in this class now.
It's a very big question.
It will be one of our
that can be one of our topics in the next coming webinars.
Yes, by the grace of God. So please look out for it. Then somebody else is asking, what is the role of an observer, and what should the competence and qualification be? An observer.
Okay, boss, go ahead.
Can I quickly take it because
Please
of time?
Go ahead.
An observer accompanies the auditor during the audit. An observer is appointed either by the accreditation body or your company to observe that the audit is carried out in accordance with the process. The observer can take notes of findings for their own reference, then verify the proceedings that it is following the way the organization has said it should go. The observer does not audit. He doesn't ask questions. He doesn't carry out any audit. So the person that is asking him to join that audit team is the one that determines his qualification and his competence based on what he or she wants him to go and observe in the course of that audit. Doctor, I don't know if you want to add to it because of time.
Okay.
Hello, Doc.
Sorry. Yeah. My addition is that when someone is an observer in an audit, that person serves two purposes. Number one, if the observer is within the audit team, is a learning progress for them to learn how to do the audit and see in their practical senses how we do it. If the observer comes from the auditees, they are coming to see the compliance and how we follow the due process. At the same time, both of them has an opportunity to learn and improve on their skills of auditing. They don't have the right to ask questions during the audit. They are not supposed to add any input into the report as much as possible. They are just for their improvements and observation. They can report back to their management if they found anything wrong, and that is within their management to decide for audits. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doc. Mr. Pascal, thank you very much for your addition. You can check up what Mr. Pascal posted on the chat. He said management system audit evaluates the overall management practices and their alignment with organizational goals, while the process audit assess specific processes to ensure they are efficient, effective, and compliant with standards and regulations. That's why I said, in the course of carrying out the management system audit, you also do, if you check our training material, you will see where like for example, in internal audit, you will see where we talk about the different types of audits.
Process
which
audits.
also, yes, process audit is one type of audit. You may want to carry out a process audit, an entire system audit. You may want to carry out, it just depending on what.
It depends on the scope. You can even carry out audit on procurement alone.
Do you understand?
And you get deep down on everything. And if that is your major area of concern, then that is where you focus your audit scope more. There is no point beating around the bush. You can only look at production. You can look at the management. You can look at efficiency, human resources, things like that. So each of those processes can be audited individually,
yes,
can be audited together as part of this management system.
Your audit could be a department audit. You want to audit a department or an area or a specific product, specific product line of your company. You want to audit the welding process, or you want to audit the pure water making process. It could just be, so in the same vein, you could also have a process audit where you are saying, I want to audit this process from start to finish, how it is being done and the rest of it. So, Doc, Mr. Wali,
thank you very much. I would like to appreciate everyone on this webinar. That is our first of its kind, and we would like to have more inputs from every one of us. You know, this is something that brought us together for improving our knowledge, improving our awareness, sharing our thoughts, discussing, and this is planned to be very helpful. I really appreciate everyone on this team today. Thank you very much, and God bless.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Waliu, quickly give me 1 minute. Let me reiterate again. Please, the institute is open for membership. You are free to go to Google and just type QMS AI, go to our membership section, then take it up from there. You want to have any of our trainings for any of the ISO certifications, look out for any of our ATPs that are listed on the website and carry out our trainings while we will do the marking, the exam, and your certification. Thank you very much. Mr. Waliu, God bless you. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Much emphasis has been made on today's enlightenment section, and I hope we added value. Try to take home one or two things and also reflect on it. The most important part of this is not only about we just coming to discuss here. We can discuss this from now to tomorrow everywhere, but go back to your workplace, your organization, your management system, and see one or two things that you can add. Review whatever is related to whatever has been said today, and let's try as possible to improve in our process. Thank you so much for making it up to this moment with us. We have a whole lot of persons that we'll be thanking. Firstly, thanks to our powerful speaker, Mr. Bashir Mohammed. I can see Mr. Ibrahim Abano, Mr. Adefela. I can see Dr. Julius Akpong. I can see Mr. Wak Afure. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Amo, Mr. Anthony Bassi, everyone, Mr. Aziz Oguniro. We have a lot of people still here up to this moment. You can keep scrolling. Thank you, everyone. We can all unmute and say thank you to ourselves now. Everybody can unmute and let us appreciate ourselves for being here today. Thank you so much,
guys.
everyone.
Thank
We
you,
appreciate
guys.
you.
everyone.
Let's see you again
Thank
next
you,
week,
everyone.
next 2 weeks.
Thank you so much. Have a
Next 2 weeks'
Everyone,
time, let us
have a
be here.
lovely week.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Next 2
Thank you
weeks, let us be
all.
here again. Next 2 weeks, let us be here again for another wonderful
Teacher,
enlightenment section. Next 2 weeks,
Thank you.
we'll
Thank
do
you,
something
everyone.
again for
Thank
you.
you.
Do not miss
Thank you.
it.
Thank you very much.
Any year you see
Miss
KMSAI, remember that
God bless
KMSAI
you.
belongs to us and is of international standard. The same way Inisu Motors was developed and not only driven in Nigeria, KMSAI is also an international certification body, but established the way all those other ones are established in their own various countries too. But together we can only get better. And like they rightly said it, the speaker rightly said it. Ayaka started in a day, KMSPI also has started in a particular day, and it's only with togetherness that we can always and promote our own to the world. Without we ourselves, no one else can do it for us. See you all again in the next 2 weeks for another enlightening, another wonderful knowledge sharing section. In the count of 10, we are going to end this section.
yeah,
So 10.
Mr. Ranja from Sierra Leone. I want to appreciate you for joining this class, Mr. Ranja Mazikana. Thank you for joining this.
Thank you, Mr. Ranja, for joining. So we are counting down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.